Everything that woman in that video said is true. Every word of it. I need you to hear me say that before I say anything else. She was telling the truth. And I know she was telling the truth because I learned the same lessons, just not the easy way. My name is Evelyn Harper. I am 103 years old. I was born in 1920 in a little coal town in the hills of West Virginia, the kind of town that doesn't exist anymore, one of those places that get swallowed by time. The mine closes, the jobs disappear, the families leave, and the town just fades away. No signs, no history books, just empty land and old memories. That's where I come from. I've been a daughter, a wife, a mother, a widow, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. I've been poor in ways that would make your worst day look like comfort. I've gone to sleep hungry. I've worn shoes with holes in them. I've lived with fear so long it felt normal. I've buried children. I've buried husbands. I've buried friends. I've buried dreams. And I'm still here. Right now, I'm sitting in my granddaughter's living room watching that video, nodding my head because that woman is right. She's right about life. She's right about people. She's right about what matters. But I need you to understand something. She had a good life. Not an easy life, but a good one. She had a kind mother, a long marriage, a home that felt safe, children who lived, memories she could look back on with warmth. That matters. Because I did not have that kind of life, and I still learned the same lessons she learned. Which tells me those lessons aren't just pretty words from a lucky old woman who lived a gentle life. They are truth. Real truth. The kind of truth you only understand when you've lived long enough to lose things that can never be replaced. If you ignore those lessons, you won't feel regret today. You'll feel it later. When you're old enough to see what you threw away, when you're old enough to understand what really mattered. Let me tell you what I believe about fate. I believe some things are not in your control. A car jumps the curb. A roof collapses. A sickness comes before the medicine exists. A war takes a child and sends back a folded flag. Those things are not choices. They are accidents of life. Wrong place. Wrong time. Wrong moment. And yes, sometimes those things end stories. But here's what people don't say enough. What you do after the terrible thing happens, that part belongs to you. That part is choice. That part is character. That part is who you decide to be. I was married the first time when I was 16 years old. I won't say his name. I stopped saying it more than 70 years ago. I lived in fear every single day. Fear when he came home. Fear when he didn't. Fear when he was quiet. Fear when he was loud. I had 2 babies in that house, and I lived every day afraid something would happen to them. In 1944, he went to a bar and never came back. Another man killed him in a fight. That was the end of my first life. I was 24 years old. 2 children, no money, no family who could help, no safety. I remember standing in that tiny house thinking, this is it, my life is over. That was the moment I could have believed the story was already written. That fate had spoken, that I was finished. But I didn't accept that. I decided the book might be written. But I was going to read it my own way. I took my 2 babies and got a job cleaning rooms at a roadside motel outside of Beckley. I worked every day. I saved every dollar I could hide. I learned how to survive. 3 years later, I met a man named Samuel Wright at a church dinner. I didn't trust him. Not at first, not for a long time. Why would I trust any man after what I had lived through? But he was patient. He was calm. He didn't rush me. He didn't push me. He showed me with his actions that he was different. I married him in 1948, and that was the beginning of my real life. Not a perfect life, not a rich life, not an easy life, but a peaceful one. A small farm that wasn't much, but it was ours. Hard work, quiet mornings, simple living, and a kind of safety I didn't know existed until I was almost 30. People call that luck. It wasn't luck. What happened in that bar gave me freedom. What I did with that freedom, that was my choice. That was my will. That was my decision not to let my story end in fear. Let me tell you about my daughter. Her name was Clara May. She was my first baby, my miracle child. She was born into darkness and somehow brought light with her anyway. She had soft brown hair, bright eyes, a laugh that filled rooms. Even when life was hard, she found reasons to smile. She kept me alive during years when I wasn't sure I wanted to be alive. In 1951, she got sick, a disease that had no cure back then. She was 11 years old. I remember the doctor standing in our doorway. I remember his face, and I remember knowing, before he spoke, what he was about to say. I watched my daughter grow weaker every day. I watched her try to smile at me through pain. I watched her fade away piece by piece. One morning I went into her room, and she was gone. I was 30 years old. That moment almost broke me completely. That was the closest I ever came to giving up on life. The only thing that saved me was my husband. Samuel didn't try to fix it. He didn't give speeches. He didn't use empty words. He stayed. He sat with me. He held my hand. He let me cry. He let me scream. He made sure I ate. He took care of the other children when I couldn't. That's love, not poetry, not romance. Staying. Years later, I lost my son. His name was Daniel Wright. He joined the Army when he was 18. I begged him not to go. I told him I couldn't survive losing another child. He looked at me and said, "Mama, I have to go. I can't stay home while others are dying." He died overseas. They sent me a letter, a folded flag, a small box with his watch and wallet. I buried my second child. I don't know how I survived that. There were days I didn't want to survive it. There were nights I begged God to take me too. But I had other children. I had a husband. And somewhere deep inside me a voice said, "You are not finished yet." That voice has kept me alive for over 100 years. And that voice is inside you too. Even if you can't hear it right now, you are not finished. Your story is not over. Your life still has meaning. People say you're too old to change. They're wrong. I changed at 24. I changed at 30. I changed at 47. I changed at 79 when I buried my second husband. You are never too old to change, but you can be too afraid, too stubborn, too comfortable in pain. That's what destroys people, not age, fear, comfort in misery, refusing to move. If you're young and think you have time, you might, or you might not. Nobody knows. That's the truth. So don't waste it. Call the people who love you. Say the words you've been holding back. Forgive when you can. Be kind when you don't have to be. Be gentle with people who are hurting, because you never know what someone is carrying. I've lived through poverty, war, sickness, and more funerals than I can count. I've seen the worst of humanity. I've also seen the best. And the best is worth fighting for. Your life is worth fighting for. Don't give up. Don't settle. Don't accept a version of life that makes you miserable just because change feels scary. I am 103 years old, and I am telling you, it is not too late. Not for love, not for change, not for healing, not for forgiveness, not for becoming better. Your story is still being written. and you are the one holding the pen. When you live long enough, you stop being afraid of death. That might sound strange to you, but it's true. You don't stop loving life. You don't stop enjoying the morning light. You don't stop liking the sound of birds or the smell of coffee. You don't stop caring about people. But the fear changes. Death stops feeling like a monster and starts feeling like a door. Not a door you rush toward. Not a door you want to open early. Just a door you understand will open one day, and you make peace with that. What people don't understand about old age is that it teaches you clarity. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You stop caring about impressing people. You stop proving yourself. You start protecting your peace. You start valuing quiet, kindness, honesty, time. Time becomes sacred. Not money, not status, not attention, time. I wake up early every morning, not because I have to, not because I have somewhere to go, because I'm grateful I woke up. I sit by the window and watch the sky change color. Sometimes I pray. Sometimes I just breathe. Sometimes I remember. Memory becomes a strange thing when you're old. It doesn't come in order. It comes in pieces. A smell, a song, a sound, a face, a voice. Suddenly you're not old anymore. You're young again, standing in a kitchen that doesn't exist anymore, hearing a laugh that's been gone for 50 years, holding a hand that turned to dust a long time ago. People think memory is gentle. It isn't always. Sometimes it's beautiful. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it breaks your heart all over again, but I don't push it away. Because memory means love existed. Pain only comes from things that mattered. If it didn't matter, it wouldn't hurt. After Samuel passed, I thought I was done with love. I was 79 years old. I told myself, I've lived enough, I've loved enough, I've lost enough, but life doesn't ask your permission. It just keeps happening. 3 years later, I met Thomas Reed. We met at a community center lunch program, two old people standing in line for soup. That's romance when you're old. No music, no drama, no fireworks, just conversation. Kindness, two tired souls recognizing peace in each other. We sat together every day. We talked about nothing. We talked about everything. We talked about weather. We talked about childhood. We talked about fear. We talked about God. We talked about regret. We didn't pretend we were young. We didn't pretend we had time. We were honest. We got married quietly. No big wedding, no white dress, no audience, just a small church. 2 witnesses, 2 old hands holding each other. We had 8 years together. 8 calm years. No chaos, no drama, no storms, just peace. And when he died, I didn't feel broken the way I did before. I felt grateful. Grateful that life had given me one more gentle love. One more safe place. One more chapter. That's the thing people get wrong. They think love only matters when you're young. It matters more when you're old. Because you understand it. You don't chase it. You don't demand it. You don't try to control it. You appreciate it. I'm 103 years old now. I live with my granddaughter. She helps me. But I do what I can. I make my own tea. I fold my own clothes. I walk every day, even if it's slow, even if it hurts, even if I'm tired. Because movement is dignity. Independence is dignity. Doing for yourself is dignity. Not because you're a burden if you need help, but because your spirit stays alive when you stay active. Your mind stays alive. Your will stays alive. Your purpose stays alive. I see people my age give up before their body does. They stop moving. They stop caring. They stop trying. They sit and wait, waiting for death. That's not living. That's surviving. And even surviving deserves dignity. If you're old and listening to me, hear this clearly. You are not useless. You are not finished. You are not invisible. You are not a burden. You are a library of stories. You are a living history. You are wisdom walking. The world just forgot how to listen. And that's not your fault. If you're young and listening to me, hear this too. Slow down. Pay attention. Learn from people who have lived longer than you. Not everything new is better. Not everything old is broken. There is knowledge in wrinkles. There is truth in silence. There is power in patience. I've lived through times when people had nothing, but still shared, when neighbors mattered, when community was real, when doors were open, when people showed up. We lost some of that, but we can bring it back one conversation at a time, one kind act at a time, one human moment at a time. Life is not made of big moments, it's made of small ones. Morning light, warm food, safe sleep, laughter, a hand to hold, a voice that says your name. That's real wealth. Not money, not fame, not attention. Connection. I've had days when I wanted to die. I've had days when I begged to live. And I've learned this. Both feelings pass. Pain passes. Fear passes. Darkness passes. But the consequences of quitting stay. If I had quit at 24, I wouldn't have known peace. If I had quit at 30, I wouldn't have had more children. If I had quit after losing my son, I wouldn't have known my grandchildren. If I had quit after Samuel died, I wouldn't have known Thomas. If I had quit at 90, I wouldn't be here talking to you. Every time I stayed, life gave me something new, different, unexpected, gentle in ways I couldn't imagine, not perfect, but meaningful. That's the truth nobody tells you. Life doesn't get easier, but you get stronger. Not in your body, in your soul, in your mind, in your spirit, in your understanding. You learn what matters and what doesn't. I don't regret my life, not because it was good, but because it was real. I lived, I loved, I lost, I stayed. That's a full life, not a pretty one, not a perfect one, a true one. If this is the last message I ever leave behind, let it be this: stay. Stay when it hurts. Stay when you're tired. Stay when you're lonely. Stay when you're afraid. Stay when you feel forgotten. Because your story is not finished. Even when the chapter is dark, even when the page is heavy, even when the words hurt, there is always another line, another moment, another breath, another chance. I don't know how much time I have left. No one does. But I know this. I am grateful I stayed. I am grateful I didn't quit. I am grateful I kept going. I am grateful I chose life again and again and again. And if you are listening to me right now, so can you.